When you get down onto your back, lay your arms down by your sides. So it should feel like you're kind of in Shavasana. Angle it so that your toes go up to the ceiling. And lay your arms pretty close to your waist, to your hips. And create just a little bit of action so you can feel how you can roll your toes in, roll your thighs in, and feel a little life around your hamstrings, a little life around your midsection. And then when you breathe in, keep your right leg long. You can always bend it, of course, but lift your right leg toward the ceiling and just see where it goes. And then as you exhale, take your right leg long, again, all the way to the floor. And then do that on the other side. So with your left leg, stretch it up. No flexing and no pointing, just long. And then bring it all the way back down. So just feeling what's possible in your leg. And we'll add a piece onto that. So when you breathe in, your right leg's going to come up all the way to the ceiling. And then when you exhale, lift your head away from your mat and bring your chin into your chest so you can look and see your left toes down on the floor. Move your head down, move your leg down. And then inhale your left leg up toward the sky. And exhale your chin into your chest. Right? See your right toes. And then bring that back down. Leg down. Add another piece to it. So inhale your right leg up toward the ceiling. Exhale your chin into your chest. And then lift both arms off the mat and try to lift your shoulder blades off the mat as well. And then everything comes back down to the mat. Inhale up with your left leg. Lift your head, chin to your chest, see your right toes. And then inhale your arms up. Lift, lift, lift. And then everything comes back down. One more time for each side. So lift your right leg, that's your breath in. Chin to your chest, see your left toes for your exhale. Arms up, float your shoulder blades. No flexing your feet. And then everything back down. Last time with your left leg coming up. Chin to your chest. See your right toes. And then inhale your arms up, lift your shoulder blades. And then everything can come down. Bend your knees, walk your feet back. Hug your legs in. And then rock and roll a few times. And then once you're up, stretch your legs out long on the mat. Feels a little bit like Dandasana. So you might flex your feet at first just to find some connection with your heels to the mat. And then let your feet relax into something that feels kind of neutral. Right? And then right there, your hands down on your knees near your shins. Take a breath in and open up, kind of like you're doing a cow pose. And then exhale round. Then your hands stay right where they are, so you have to move back into your spine. And then breathe in and open up. And then exhale round into yourself. Transfer your fingertips to the mat next to your knees. Breathe in and arch open, little lift of your heart and your gaze. And then exhale round into yourself. Do it that way one more time. So you breathe in and you lift, open, spread, and then exhale round. And then right there, press into your fingertips. When you breathe in, open up your chest the same way and lift your right leg off the mat. Keep it lifted and round into yourself. Keep it lifted, arch open. And then as you exhale and round in, drop your heel, chin toward your chest. And then arch open, so there's a little bit of that cow feeling. Lift up with your left leg, and then exhale round into yourself. Keep your leg lifted. Lift open through your gaze, your heart. And then as you round, you can release your heel. Do that again. So as you arch open, lift your right leg off the mat without flexing your foot though, Sophie. And then round into yourself. Keep your leg there. That's it. And then lift open through your chest. Keep your leg lifted, lifted, lifted. And then as you round into yourself, put your heel down. And then as you arch open, tip up your gaze and lift your left leg off the mat. Exhale and round into yourself. Inhale, arch open. And then as you exhale and round into yourself, you can release your foot to the floor. Keep both heels on the floor. Open up through your chest one time. And then as you exhale and round, let your hands slide down towards your ankles or your toes. It feels a little bit like Paschimottanasana. And then as you breathe in, sit yourself up, cross your legs. Move to all fours. And if you can, like if you're not super tall, leave some space toward the front of your mat. So I'm going to set my all fours. So I've got a nice space up front. Curl under your toes. Move your hips backward toward your heels. And then find downward facing dog. And then you can pedal around through there. Move through your waist. And then find a moment to settle. Notice where your heels are in relationship to the floor. So it's always totally great if they float, but direct them back and down at the same time. And then maybe you widget your toes back a millimeter and you find just a little more drop towards your heels. One last breath there. And then start to walk your feet forward toward where your hands are, so that when you end up in a forward bend, you're not quite at the front of your mat. You still have this extra real estate up in front of you. And you can bend your knees, you can hold on to your opposite elbows, give a little shake out through your spine, a flutter through your lips. Good, and then bring your hands to your shins and open up part way. So you come into a supported Ardha Uttanasana. And right where you are, bring your thumbs to your heart in prayer, and then stand all the way up. And release your arms down by your sides. Let your shoulders pour down your back. And give yourself a whole breath in, and then really plant with the exhale. When you breathe in, bring your prayer into your heart. And then when you exhale, send your arms out long in front of you. You can cross your thumbs over each other. Hinge your hips and reach forward as you come halfway into a fold. And then your fingertips go out toward that front edge of your mat so it feels kind of pyramid shaped. Right from there, pull a prayer into your heart and stand up. Release your arms down by your sides. And then add to that. So you breathe in, the prayer comes to your heart. Exhale, your arms go out long. Inhale and reach, 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 reach. See the front edge, touch it. And then as you exhale, bring your hands onto your shins so you come into this half forward fold. Bring a prayer into your heart and stand yourself up. Release your arms down by your sides. Inhale a prayer into your heart. Exhale your arms out in front. Hinge at your hips so you get longer through your waist. And then touch the floor. Exhale your hands to your shins or your ankles or next to your toes. And then slide it back with your right toes and take a lunge. Open up through your chest. And then go high with your hips as you step your left toes back, downward dog. Stretch out long for plank pose and breathe in. Hug in your elbows, and you can lower all the way down to your mat. Point your toes there and peel up a little cobra. And then back down to the ground so you can recurl your toes. Press into plank pose. Turn that into downward facing dog. Breathe out. Step your right foot forward to the front of your mat, breathing in. Exhale your left foot alongside it and fold right into your legs. Come halfway up with the prayer coming into your chest, and then finish coming all the way up. Release your arms down by your sides. Inhale your prayer up to your heart. Exhale your arms out in front. Hinge with the breath in, reaching, touch the front side. And then exhale, a halfway lift. So you're coming into this half Uttanasana. Inhale your left leg back for a long lunge. Open up through your chest. And then step backward. Downward facing dog. Roll out long for plank pose. Hug your elbows to your body and lower all the way down. Point your toes, little lift for cobra. Come back down to the ground. Curl your toes under. Breathe into plank pose. And then downward facing. Move your left foot forward for a lunge, breathing in. Exhale your right toes alongside your left toes, folding right into Uttanasana. Start by coming halfway to bring the prayer. Finish coming all the way up. Exhale your arms down by your sides. One last time, pull a prayer to your heart. Exhale your arms out in front. Hinge and reach with your breath in. So you're reaching, you're still inhaling when you touch down. Halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Inhale your right leg back behind you. Stay open, step and through plank, bend your elbows, lower all the way or part of the way. Cobra or upward facing. And then back you go, downward facing. Step your right foot forward to the front. Step into your forward bend, Uttanasana, as you exhale into yourself. You're coming halfway with a prayer to come all the way up. Exhale your arms down by your sides. And then one last time with a prayer to your chest. Arms out in front. Hinge, see the front edge. Reach, get longer, reach. And then as you exhale, halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. You can use your fingertips or hands on your shins. Left leg back as you breathe and open up. Step through plank to bend your elbows to lower the way you like to lower. Over your toes, open it up. Back over your toes, down dog. Move your left foot to the front, breathe in. And then step it all together, fold over into yourself. Start by coming halfway to bring the prayer and then finish all the way up. And release your arms down by your sides. Give yourself a whole breath in and a whole breath out. You can take a step up to the front of your mat if you were using that extra real estate. And then bend your knees, lift your arms, Utkatasana. Fold over and touch the ground. Make your way back through a plank to bend your elbows with an exhale. To flip your toes and open up your chest. And then downward facing dog. Pause right there and just practice tenting your right fingers while you're in downward dog. Flatten your right palm. Tent your left fingers. Flatten your palm. Tent your right fingers. Lift your right heel up high. Flatten it back down. Tent your left fingers. Lift your left toes. So you're practicing keeping your limbs long. A couple more times, right fingertips, left fingertips. So that when you go high on your toes, you can feel how you can maybe feel your legs suctioning in. One last time, left fingertips. And then downward dog. So that when you tent your right fingers and you start to lift your right heel, move your right toes and just tap the back of your right wrist. Move that back into downward facing dog. Flatten it out. Tent your left fingers, lift your left heel, and then tap your left toes right up to your left wrist. And then go back, downward facing dog. Right? Stretch out long for plank. Hug in your elbows to lower. Cobra or upward facing. Downward facing dog. Add to that. So as you tense your right fingers and lift your right heel, keep your right leg long, like you're going to tap the back of your wrist, but then set your right foot down, turn your left heel down, and bend your right knee. Cartwheel yourself up and turn it into warrior two. So you're using this drawing in at your hip crease, drawing your leg into the socket, powering up under your lower belly to step into the shape. Cartwheel your hands down. Turn up your back heel, tense your right fingers, lengthen through your right leg, and slide it out long, downward facing dog. Flatten your palm. Stretch out long for plank. Hug in your elbows. Keep your gaze going forward. Up dog or cobra. Downward facing dog. Tense your left fingers, lift your left heel, move your left leg long like you're going to touch the back of your wrist and then step down. Anchor your right heel, bend your left knee, cartwheel yourself up, warrior two. And allow yourself to reach out in both directions. So when you're using that tented finger to step forward, you have to kind of tip your body weight to one side. So you change your center of gravity so that you can use that to keep your leg long. Cartwheel your hands down. Breathe into plank pose. Lower if you're lowering. Flip your toes, open up. Downward facing. Tense your right fingers, lift your right heel. See if your right leg can stay long as you come up, like you're going to tap. Step it down. Bend through your front knee. Ground into your back heel. Move your right fingertips right inside your right foot next to your arch. And then open your left arm up to the sky. Plug your right thigh back into its socket. And keep turning open through your chest. If that troubles your neck at any point, turn your gaze down. And then you can turn it back open. One last breath there. Press into your feet to rise up for warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down to the ground. Turn up your back heel. Everything gets long. So you can slide your right leg long to the back for downward facing dog. Roll out long for plank pose. Lower if you're lowering. Open up and then find each other at your dog. Tense your left fingers, lift your left heel, move your left toes right up to your wrist. Drop your foot, drop your back heel, bend your front knee. Tense your left fingers. You could always have a block right next to your arch. Turn open through your chest. And then add your right arm to the sky. You might keep your gaze down the whole time there. But turn open at your breastbone. And just like when you're moving your leg long, see if you can feel how you can retract your left thigh into the socket some. Go one last moment there. And then press into your legs to come up. Warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down, turn up your back heel, make your front leg long so you can lengthen, tense your left fingers, and slide out with a long leg, downward dog. You can come out long to plank there. Bend your elbows. Flip your toes. And then meet back up at downward dog. And then one more time, tense your right fingers, lift your right heel, move your right toes right up behind your wrist, drop your foot, keep both legs long. You can adjust your right hand outside your right foot, and then open up triangle pose from there. Still feel the depth that you just created at your right hip crease. If it ever feels like a strain to turn your head, turn more toward the side wall with your gaze, Troy. And then, so rather than looking up, just see the side wall. Yep. Now turn your chest. Good. Right from there, bend your right knee, rise up, and you can tip back for peaceful warrior. Cartwheel your hands down, make your front leg long, tense your right fingers, slide your right leg to the back, downward facing. Add a plank pose, chaturanga or something else, up dog, and then meet up at down dog. Last time here, tense your left fingers, lift your left heel, move your left toes right up behind your wrist, drop your foot, both legs long, adjust your left fingers, and then turn it into triangle pose. Find the rotation at your breastbone and your belly, Stephanie, before you do it at your shoulder. Stephanie Bradley, that is. Yeah. And then perhaps let your gaze follow along and find some more space at your shoulder. Go on, last moment here. And then you can bend through your left knee, rise up and tip back for peaceful warrior. Cartwheel down. Make your front leg long. Tense your left fingers. Slide out with a long leg to down dog. Come out long for plank pose. Hug in your elbows to lower. Over your toes. Meet back up at down dog. Could see where your hands are, and you can walk or you can step or you can jump to meet up with your thumbs. Stretch long through your spine, and then fold deep. Bend your knees on the way up, Utkatasana. And then stand up and release your arms, Tadasana. Give yourself a moment to land, scan. Remember the word buoyant. Give yourself the whole exhale. And then press more into your right foot. So there's your center of gravity moving to your right. Pull a prayer to your chest. Bring your left heel right in front of your right big toenail. But your left toes go up. So the only thing that's really touching the ground is your right foot and maybe a little bit of your left heel. So you've really turned up your left foot. Big, strong dorsiflexion. Give yourself one more moment. And then keep your left leg long. Transfer your left big toe to touch the backside of your right heel now. So still, the only thing on the ground is your right foot. And then you navigate in the middle there. So you feel where your pelvis wants to slide left or right. Give yourself one more moment there. Keep your standing leg long. Hinge your hip to move your left leg back toward the center. Land on your toe. Send your left heel back. As you're lifting, bend through your right knee to press into your left foot. So your back foot really feels like it's still going straight back behind you with minimal turn in, right? So your warrior one might feel a little bit shorter, but you might feel a lot more interesting information in your left lower leg. So you resist trying to get into a big hip opening or hip stretch. Give yourself one more moment to give lots of length through your whole spine. And then bring your hands down, return to the prayer, make your front leg long. Press into the ball mound of your left foot so you feel yourself hinging again at your hip. And then you shift, your right leg stays long as you pull everything back up to stand in Tadasana. So working with long limbs as much as possible. Let your arms drop down for a second. And then bring your prayer into your heart, the weight to your left foot and your right heel skin right onto your left big toe. So it really feels like you're trying to pull your right toes up higher so you can feel the front side of your right shin powering up, right along the front side of your tibia. Keep your right leg long, transfer your right big toe around to the back side of your left heel, and just hook it in there. So your right foot really floats. Narrowing everything so you can find your center of gravity over this one foot. And then right from there, hinge at your hip. Move your right toes back toward the center. So you're searching with your toe, but your standing leg is long. Drop your toe, press backward with your heel, bend into your left knee. So you have this shorter stance in your initial landing for warrior one. Arms up. So if you don't feel anything happening in your back shin around the front side of your leg, then it's probably too long of a stance or you've turned your heel in too much. I want you to try to keep your heel facing the back of your mat as much as possible so you feel life on the front side of your shin. And then pull in your prayer, make your front leg long, press through the ball mound of your back foot. Shift so you have this long leg. And then you draw into yourself. Tadasana. Could add to that. So as you bring a prayer into your heart, move your left leg forward some so it just floats. Think about what you were doing when you were sitting at the beginning of class with your legs out long. It's not much higher than that. So you have this sense of your leg floating out in space, but the weight's over your right leg. And then your left leg stays long as it goes back, and then try to find that same amount of lift behind you. So you still have a prayer at the center of your heart. If you touch your bum, your left butt cheek should be pretty soft in this moment. And then as you drop the prayer and move your arms back, level off to Warrior 3. So that's where your left butt cheek might turn on some, but it's still not squeezing or turning your toes out. Give yourself a little lift at your chest to turn on behind your heart. One last breath. And then as the prayer starts to come back into your heart, let your left leg stay long. Stand on both feet. Release your arms. As the prayer comes in, float your right leg out in front of you. Right? So you might feel some life in the front side of your right thigh. No need to point or flex at your toes. And then find that same amount of height behind you. So your right foot just slides along the surface of your mat. Check your right bum. So that should be pretty soft there. There's a lot of work happening in your left hip and your left butt cheek. And then as you drop the prayer and your arms go back, that's where your right leg can start to lift, like you're pulling on puppet strings. Level off. Reach your right leg longer rather than flexing your foot and squeezing. Lift your chest one time here. And then as the prayer comes in, keep both legs long and bring yourself back up. Release your prayer. Hands to your hips now. Lift your left leg up in front. So then you're going for whatever your height is. So if that means the height where we just were, if that's the best place, be there. But see if, with your hands on your hips, you can get your leg to being almost parallel to the ground. And then as your leg moves back in space, find that almost parallel to the ground there. And then send everything back energetically to drop your left toes. Send your left heel straight back. And then like earlier, move your arms forward alongside your head. So you have this sense of reaching your hips back and reaching your arms forward. Thinking about leveling off. You can see the front edge of your mat. Pause for one more breath there. Let your left fingers fall to the mat and your right hand go to your hip. Revolve that further if you like. You can progress deeper by taking your right arm into the sky. Turning open. One last breath. And then see the ground. Bring your hands to your heart as you take away the rotation. Lift up through your spine about halfway. Press through your back toes to shift weight into your right foot. And then stand on both legs. Release your arms. Good, hands on your hips. And then take your right leg up. And then play with that height. So see if you can allow yourself to deepen at your hip crease. And then find a similar height back behind you. And then begin to send the energy back. So you feel like there's more weight in your left heel, Drop your right toes. Send your right heel straight back in space. Bring a prayer into your chest, and then extend your arms forward. So the more you can reach forward with your arms, the deeper you might find the crease in your left hip. And then release your right hand down your left hand to your hip, revolving a triangle. You can add your left arm into the sky. Really move your right shoulder blade, Isabella, away from your spine. So not quite that. Let your shoulder move away from your spine. So drop your gaze for a moment. And then keep twisting from there. Twist from there. And think about the backs. Yes. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Good. And then take the rotation away. Pull a prayer into your chest. Lift your spine up part of the way. Press into the ball mound of your back toes. Shift the weight into your left foot. And then come to stand on both feet. Release your arms. Good. Utkatasana, bend your knees. Fold over and touch the ground. Tent your fingers, lift your heels, bend your knees, and then right from there, ease your bum down to the ground. Have a seat. And then when you get down, you can either hold your knees or you can take your hands into the creases of your knees. You choose where it feels best. And then find your first balance there. So you can waddle on your sitting bones, find some surface, some bone surface to be on, and let your feet float. Give yourself a little more chest lift. Notice what your feet are wanting to do, where they want to wander. So if you touch your big toes just together at the edges, create a little connection there. One last breath. And then bend your knees deeper to drop your feet to the floor. Round into yourself for a moment so you can bring your chin to your chest, wrap your arms around your knees. And then as you sit up again, take your arms and grab around your thighs. So you can have elbows, or maybe you're just holding a wrist. And then find your balance again. So bringing your thighs in closer to your body, creating a smaller package. And then right from there, right leg only. Extend your right leg long without flexing your foot. And long doesn't mean 100% straight, right? And then bend your right knee. And then left leg by itself. Extend, extend, extend. And then bring it down. And then both feet. So if you touch your big toes together, and then take it up, and then your big toes might separate a centimeter there. And then you bend, and you drop your feet down. Wrap around the front of your knees, drop your chin into your chest. And then sit yourself up again. Use your fingertips and tent them on the floor. So somewhere right at the edges of your mat. Open up your chest. And then find balance with both knees bent, right? So think about your calves and your lower leg being kind of parallel to your mat. And then notice where you want to sink back into your shoulder blades and lift up into your breastbone instead. Press into your fingers to lengthen through your legs. And then bend your knees. And then press into your fingers, Sophie, and lift your toes up. And then bend your knees. And then one more time, press your fingers, lengthen your legs, lift your gaze up. And then bend, bend, bend. Drop your feet. Hug yourself. Good, and then sit yourself up. Stretch your arms forward, right? And then you can kind of creep your heels up. So if you walk your toes backward a centimeter so your heels lift, great place to hang out. Or there is that initial just tipping back to get your feet off the ground. And then think about lifting through your legs and lifting your heart, but then lower your arms a smidgen to expose more chest. Navasana. And here's where touching your big toes together really helps. And if you're tremoring, it means you're alive, right? If you don't expect a tremor, you must not expect to be live, right? One last breath. And then grab your knees, hug everything in, wrap around yourself. Give yourself a hug. Good. And then cross your legs. Come onto all fours. You can move that back a little bit toward the back of your mat. And find your blanket. And lay your blanket onto your mat. You know, it's cushioning for your head, so you decide how thick it is. You don't want to be so thick that you feel like you're going to roll off of it. But use some of this long leg information to move yourself perhaps toward a prep for a headstand or all the way into headstand. So set yourself up with your elbows down on the mat. Narrow your elbows so they feel just a little narrower than your shoulders. Interlace your fingers. You might already creep your knees in a little bit closer to your elbows, and you can sit back almost like you're in a little bit of a sphinx or like getting ready for a child's pose. And this can be your place, and you can work on pressing through the ground, experiencing your lats, moving your shoulders away from your ears. That's a good place to hang out, right? Or you can shift more bend into your elbows to curl your toes under. So as you press into your forearms and lift your hips, lengthen through your legs, deposit your head right into the space behind your wrists and thumbs. And then you notice how the bend of your elbow wants to keep bending, so you have to press a little bit and send more energy down. Another good place to stay. Or work on taking your right leg up long by pressing into both elbows. And then bring your right leg back down long. And then work on your left leg going up long. And long doesn't mean kick. I'm not going to say that word, right? And then you come back down. And that could be the work, or you could use that so as your right leg goes up and your left toes really point and your heel comes off the ground, you might use that length to float one leg up toward headstand. So now I've got one leg vertical and one leg sort of parallel to the ground. And then I might add a second leg up, so both feet, and you can use the toe touch to anchor yourself through your feet in the sky. And then you can lower your left leg halfway down. Feel the hinge at your hips as you press into the blanket. Lower your toes. You can come down and take a break, or you can check out the other side by lifting your left leg, lifting your right heel, pressing, pressing, pressing. If pressing ever becomes a hop, then you've gone too far. You can add your right toes up next to your left toes. Reaching through your entire foot. And then if you're up there, your right leg can come down halfway. Use that to hinge your hip, press your arms, lower all 10 toes. Drop your knees, point your toes, put your hips back to your heels. So you can have your elbows on the blanket right in front of your knees, and then peek over your left shoulder. See your left baby toe. Peek over your right shoulder. See your right baby toe. And then a couple more of these peek around the corners. One more. Last side. Good. And then you have one last approach toward headstand if you like, right? So if you want to just watch for a second, you can, or you can listen and follow along, or you can know that you're not going to do one last one and skip it. So I'm going to come in the same way, and then rather than one leg at a time, I'm going to walk my feet forward and wide some. So I can use everything with that long leg work that we've been doing by pressing and letting my legs travel up long through a bit of a V. To come up. And all of that really, I mean, these sensations are many, but the main sensation is what's happening in your legs to get them long that way, right? Sensations in your arms to keep yourself supported. Coming back down, you travel back through that wide leg prasarita, pull in your lower belly, press down through your arms, land your toes outside the mat, and then step in, knees down. Good, and if you came up that last time, you can sit back and peek around the corner a couple times. Good. And then you can move your blanket off to the side and lie down on your belly. And when you get down onto your belly, just lay your arms out long. You can be on a cheek. If it feels okay, you could also be on your chin. Sometimes moving into headstand takes you into a bit more flexion through your neck, so reversing that with a little extension through your neck. Good. One last breath. And then flip over to your back. And when you get there, drop the soles of your feet flat. Drag your feet back so you can touch the back of your heels with the tips of your fingers. Make more of the openness across your chest, so you can think that word buoyant and buoyancy again. And then you might begin to lift your hips here if you like, going toward a bridge. Play for a second with the crease at the front of your hips, so you can lift all the way to the height of your lift, feel all the effort that it takes to get there, and then soften some of that effort. So you feel your butt muscles deflate. Press your feet into the mat and send them away from you. So you lift again. There's still going to be some action in your butt, but there might be less. Interlace your fingers behind you. Press into the ground. Good. And then break free of the grip. Release your hips down. Wrap your arms across your front body, a bit of a hug there. Good. And then you can either drop your arms down by your sides or take your hands to the floor next to your head so your fingers point at your shoulders. You can definitely stay right here in either one of those places. You can lift for another bridge, or if your hands are by your head, start to lift your hips. And you might do that pause again, assess, kind of get the space, find all that tension, soften some of it, and then press into your hands to come all the way up. Give yourself a moment more. And then chin to your chest. Ease on down. You can roll your wrists around a couple times. And begin to move your knees side to side. Windshield wipering. And then still your knees in the middle. Pick your feet up from the floor and cup your hands around your knees. Look over to the left. And then once you can't look anymore, let your legs tumble over to the left so you're on your left side. Stay there. Turn your gaze up to the ceiling. Can't let your head take you over to your back. See what's on the right. And then let that tip you all the way over. So taking these rolls, head and eyes to the ceiling, wall behind you, let that bring your legs along with. So there's no heave-ho with it. And then your gaze goes over to the right, and your legs come along. And then one more time, your gaze goes up to the ceiling, all the way over to the left. When your knees get there, pause, and then take your right arm up to the ceiling. See the ceiling. Keep reaching until you come into the twist. So your right arm can drop. See if your right shoulder can drop. You can keep your gaze over your arm. If it's better, you can gaze up to the ceiling. Really land without pressing or forcing. And then take your gaze to the ceiling if it's over to the right. Let that bring your right arm back over toward the left side. Grab to your knees. Look up to the ceiling. Crane your head around. Let that bring you over to your right. So your head leads. And then when you get to your right, start to gaze to the ceiling. Add your left arm. Take the twist. There's not as much room to breathe deeply, but see what you can do there. Good, and then see the ceiling. Let your arm follow along. End up on your right side, and then come on up to sit. And then once you're up, you can stretch both legs out long. Sit on your sitting bones for a moment just to feel tall. And then bend through both knees and bring the soles of your feet together. You can always prop up on your blanket. Interlace your fingers underneath the pinky edges of your feet. Still, just allow yourself to sit. Breathe. Find the length, find the buoyancy, find the integrity. And then flare out your elbows as you start to hinge your hip. And bow toward your feet. So minimal effort in your hands. Your hands are not doing the work to fold you. They're just a tether there. Tip your gaze forward toward the edge of your mat. And then as you exhale, drop your gaze, make more room behind your heart, and maybe you fold another centimeter. And then you can do that one more time as you gaze forward, and then you gaze down. Lift your gaze out. You might keep some grip on your feet depending on the surface that you're on, and then let your legs slide out. And then find the half lift, the up quality through your spine. So you can find lots of openness through your chest. And then give your ankles a bit of a point, and already feel how that starts to change what's happening through your legs. And then your gaze can drop. And you'll feel your shoulders creep up by your ears initially, but then draw them away from your ears. And you might walk your hands down more toward your heels. And then you can tip your gaze forward. And then tip your gaze down. See if it folds you some more. Tip your gaze forward. And then tip your gaze down and in. Give yourself a chance to breathe out completely. And then sit yourself up. Take your hands around behind you. Turn your forefingers out toward the sides so you can make some more room in your shoulders. And you can decide if you want to bend your knees here or if you want to keep your legs long. If you're keeping them long, narrow them a little bit. Touch your two big toes together. Press into your hands and slide yourself open. Purvottanasana. And then deepen at your hip crease. Have a seat. And then you can lie back onto your back, or you can find a seat that works for you for the remainder of time. Choose how you want to let go. Be where you need to be. And wherever you land, maintain a relationship with your breath. One where you can observe it without attempting to manipulate it. One where you can allow it to do what it does, rather than asking more of it than is possible. Remembering that it is your breath that creates the structural integrity of the vessel. The vessel of your body and the vessel of your mind. It's your breath that creates the buoyancy. Even when there's a chink in the armor or a crack in the hull. If you're on your back, you can start to move around a little bit. Bend your knees so that you can move to your side. If you're sitting, you can just do a couple chin nods down to your chest. And as you make your way into a seat, bring your hands into your heart. Take a breath all the way in. We are one life, we are one light, and we are one love. It's with gratitude that I bow to the divine in each of you, to this time that we have shared together.